Have you ever observed that the women who hold you in highest regard are often those you've declined? That the instant you begin providing a woman with everything she desires, she paradoxically begins desiring less of you. That your resistance to becoming her emotional marionette somehow renders you more appealing than all your efforts to satisfy her. Yet here's the reality that will demolish everything you've been conditioned to believe about love. The quickest method to extinguish a woman's interest is to never let her down. Friedrich Nietzsche penned, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." However, regarding relationships, we could state, "What does not disappoint her makes her weaker." Because each time you neglect to disappoint a woman when disappointment is justified, you're not demonstrating kindness, you're displaying weakness. And weakness, masquerading as kindness, is the silent destroyer of attraction. The majority of men handle relationships like diplomatic talks. They're convinced that agreeing to everything will generate peace, harmony, and enduring love. Yet what they generate instead is disdain, monotony, and ultimate desertion. Because a woman's love fundamentally differs from a man's love. And until you grasp this difference, you'll continue committing the same catastrophic errors. A woman's love is inherently consuming. When she loves you, she doesn't merely desire your attention. She desires to absorb your entirety. She desires your time, your thoughts, your energy, your focus, your aspirations, your anxieties, your everything. This isn't malevolent, it's biological. Her instinct is to fuse with what she treasures most. Yet here's what most men fail to recognize. Surrendering to this consuming love is the quickest method to annihilate it. Consider it this way. A woman becomes enamored with a man who possesses his own life, his own purpose, his own limits. He's appealing precisely because he's not accessible on demand. He possesses something valuable that she cannot fully obtain. However then, flattered by her desire for him, he starts to surrender incrementally. First his pastimes, then his companions, then his independence, then his resolve. And abruptly, the very element that made him appealing, his self-possession, has disappeared. She obtained what she desired, but in obtaining it, she demolished what she actually required. This is the essential paradox of feminine attraction. Women are attracted to what they cannot fully dominate, yet their love attempts to dominate what attracts them. Your responsibility as a conscious man is to preserve what attracted her initially, particularly when her love attempts to consume it. Mastering the art of disappointing women isn't about cruelty or indifference. It's about comprehending that disappointing her desires serves her requirements. Her conscious mind might desire all your time and attention, yet her unconscious mind requires you to preserve the strength and independence that made you worth desiring initially. When you decline her unreasonable requests, you're not rejecting her. You're safeguarding the relationship. When you maintain your limits despite her pressure, you're not being selfish, you're being responsible. When you select your own direction over her preferences, you're not being obstinate, you're being attractive. Because here's what transpires when a man cannot disappoint a woman. She starts to lose respect for him. And once a woman loses respect for a man, her attraction departs shortly thereafter. She may not consciously understand this is occurring, but something profound inside her begins to feel insecure. If he cannot maintain the boundary with her, someone he supposedly values, how can he maintain the boundary against genuine threats? A woman's requirement to feel secure often manifests in paradoxical ways. She'll challenge your boundaries not because she desires you to fail, but because she requires confirmation they exist. She'll generate unreasonable demands, not because she anticipates you to satisfy them, but because she requires verification that you possess the courage to refuse them. These challenges are not conscious manipulations. They're unconscious assessments of your strength. And each time you fail these challenges by agreeing when you should decline, you fail her on a level beyond logic. The capacity to disappoint women is fundamentally about preserving your center when facing emotional pressure. It's about remaining unmoved by tears, uninfluenced by arguments, unbroken by temporary affection withdrawal. Not because you're callous, but because you comprehend what genuine love demands. Most men are petrified of disappointing women because they confuse momentary displeasure with permanent loss. They believe that making her unhappy momentarily will drive her away permanently. Yet the reverse is accurate. Making her happy constantly is what drives her away permanently. Examine your own experiences. With women, reflect on the occasions you've been rejected, declined, or disappointed by someone you found attractive. Did that rejection make you appreciate her less, or did it perversely make you desire her more? Did her unavailability diminish your interest or amplify it? The identical psychological mechanism that compels you to pursue women who reject you compels women to pursue men who disappoint them. Scarcity generates value. Availability eliminates it. This isn't a flaw in human psychology. It's a characteristic. However, mastering the skill of disappointing women skillfully demands wisdom. You cannot simply decline everything and anticipate favorable results. Like seasoning cuisine, disappointment must be administered with precision. Insufficient, and the relationship becomes insipid. Excessive, and it becomes poisonous. The solution is learning to differentiate between reasonable and unreasonable requests. When she requests you to abandon an important business meeting to view a movie with her, disappointment is suitable. When she requests you to return her call later because she experienced a difficult day, compliance might be the superior choice. The objective is not to be disagreeable for disagreement's sake. The objective is to preserve your integrity while constructing her respect. Each time you select your authentic response over her preferred response, you demonstrate that you're your own man. And being your own man is what generated her interest initially. This principle extends beyond romantic relationships into every interaction with women. In your professional life, you'll encounter women who challenge your boundaries through unreasonable demands, emotional manipulation, or passive-aggressive conduct. Your capacity to disappoint them professionally, to decline without explanation, to preserve your standards despite their displeasure, directly correlates with their respect for you. Most men in corporate environments become approval seekers, particularly with female colleagues and supervisors. They agree to additional work, agree to unreasonable deadlines, agree to responsibilities beyond their job description, and then they question why they're overlooked for promotions while less qualified but more assertive men progress. The identical dynamic operates. Women in professional contexts, like women in personal contexts, respect men who can disappoint them appropriately. They may not appreciate being told no, but they respect the man who possesses the courage to state it. Yet here's where most men become confused. They believe that disappointing women means being harsh, cold, or deliberately hurtful. This misunderstanding leads to either weakness, avoiding all disappointment, or cruelty, delivering disappointment without care. The skilled man masters disappointing with compassion. He can decline while still being kind. He can maintain his boundaries while still being loving. He can select his own path while still respecting hers. This equilibrium between strength and warmth is what distinguishes attractive men from merely difficult ones. Consider how you deliver disappointment. A weak man states, "I apologize, but I cannot because," and then provides 17 justifications for his choice. A harsh man states no and departs without explanation. Yet a strong man states, "I comprehend this is important to you and I won't be able to do that." Clear, kind, conclusive. The weak response invites negotiation and dispute. The harsh response generates unnecessary conflict. The strong response communicates respect for both her feelings and your decision. Mastering disappointment of women also means learning to tolerate their disappointment. Most men capitulate to female displeasure, not because they're naturally generous, but because they cannot endure witnessing a woman upset. Her tears, her silence, her obvious distress triggers something in them that demands immediate resolution. Yet this emotional rescue impulse is precisely what you must overcome. When you disappoint a woman appropriately, she will be disappointed. This is not a problem requiring solution. It's a natural consequence requiring acceptance. Your responsibility is not to manage her emotions. Your responsibility is to make sound decisions and allow her to process the results. This doesn't mean being indifferent to her feelings. It means understanding that temporarily hurt feelings are often the price of long-term respect. A woman might be upset that you selected the gym instead of shopping with her, but she'll respect you more for maintaining your health and discipline than she would have for abandoning them to please her. The timing of disappointment matters enormously. It's far superior to disappoint a woman early in a relationship than to establish patterns you cannot sustain. If you begin by agreeing to everything, she'll anticipate that pattern to continue. When you eventually attempt to establish boundaries, she'll experience it as deprivation rather than clarification. Yet if you establish your willingness to disappoint her from the beginning, she learns to respect your autonomy. She discovers that you're not an approval seeker, desperate for validation. She realizes that your attention and compliance are valuable because they're not automatically granted. This early establishment of boundaries also functions as a screening mechanism. Some women will respect your capacity to disappoint them and be attracted to your strength. Others will find your independence intolerable and attempt to break it through various forms of pressure: guilt, manipulation, emotional blackmail, threats of abandonment. Pay attention to how a woman responds to reasonable disappointment. Does she accept it gracefully? Does she respect your right to choose? Does she adjust her expectations accordingly? Or does she escalate her demands, punish you for your choice, or attempt to make you feel guilty for having boundaries? Her response to disappointment reveals more about her character than months of ordinary interaction ever could. A mature woman might be disappointed, but will respect your decision. An immature woman will interpret your no as a personal attack and respond accordingly. This screening function alone makes mastering disappointment of women invaluable. Superior to discover someone's true character initially than to waste years with someone who cannot respect boundaries. Yet, perhaps the most significant aspect of disappointing women is what it teaches you about yourself. Each time you select authenticity over approval, you strengthen your psychological spine. Each time you decline despite pressure, you prove to yourself that you can handle conflict. Each time you maintain your position despite emotional manipulation, you demonstrate your own worth. Most men exist their entire lives seeking approval from others, particularly from women. They make decisions based on what others desire rather than what they believe is correct. They exchange their integrity for acceptance, their authenticity for approval, their strength for temporary peace. Mastering disappointment of women breaks this pattern. It compels you to develop an internal compass that guides your choices regardless of external pressure. It teaches you that your worth is not determined by other people's satisfaction with your decisions. And ironically, this inner strength becomes incredibly attractive. Women are attracted to men who cannot be influenced by emotional manipulation, who make decisions from principle rather than pressure, who preserve their center regardless of circumstances. The man who can disappoint women appropriately communicates several attractive qualities simultaneously. He demonstrates that he has options, scarcity mindset. He shows that he has standards, selective attention. He proves that he has backbone, emotional strength, and he reveals that he has integrity, authentic living. All of these qualities are far more attractive than agreeableness, approval-seeking, or emotional availability. Women claim they desire sensitive, accommodating men, but they're actually attracted to strong, principled ones. This doesn't mean becoming a tyrant or treating women poorly. It means becoming a man who knows his own mind and isn't afraid to express it, even when that expression disappoints others. The journey to mastering this skill begins with small disappointments. Practice declining minor requests. Select your own preferences over someone else's occasionally. Preserve your schedule despite pressure to modify it. Construct your capacity to handle displeasure gradually. As you develop this ability, you'll notice something interesting. The women in your life begin treating you differently. They start requesting your opinion more seriously. They seek your approval more genuinely. They respect your time more completely. This occurs because you've demonstrated something rare in the modern world: a man who cannot be controlled through emotional manipulation. And that rarity makes you valuable in ways that niceness never could. The ultimate objective is not to become someone who enjoys disappointing women, but someone who can do so, when necessary, without losing his center. Someone who selects love over fear, authenticity over approval, strength over safety. Because the woman who is truly suitable for you won't be repelled by your capacity to disappoint her. She'll be relieved by it. She'll recognize in your strength the safety she's been searching for. She'll see in your boundaries the structure she needs to flourish. Let's examine the deeper psychology behind why disappointment generates attraction. When you consistently agree to a woman's requests, you're essentially communicating that her desires are more important than your own judgment. This generates an unconscious power dynamic where she becomes the decision-maker in the relationship, and you become the executor of her will. Yet women are not attracted to men they can control completely. They're attracted to men who have their own agenda, their own mission, their own non-negotiable principles. When you disappoint her by selecting your path over her preferences, you remind her that you are not her employee. You are her equal, and in some ways her superior. This dynamic manifests in countless ways throughout a relationship. She suggests you skip your workout to spend time with her. Your response reveals whether you're committed to your physical health or willing to abandon it for momentary approval. She desires you to cancel plans with friends to attend her cousin's birthday celebration. Your choice shows whether you honor your commitments or break them under emotional pressure. Each of these moments is a test, and your response either constructs or erodes her respect for you. The man who consistently selects the path of least resistance, who always defers to her wishes, who never prioritizes his own values over her comfort, gradually transforms from lover to servant in her eyes. And once that transformation occurs, the attraction perishes, because no woman is attracted to her servant, regardless of how dedicated or accommodating he might be. Your capacity to handle her disappointment reveals whether you're centered in your own power or dependent on her approval. The weak man sees her distress and immediately seeks to fix it, apologize, explain, negotiate. He cannot tolerate the tension of her unhappiness and will do anything to restore harmony, even if it means betraying his own judgment. Yet the strong man recognizes her disappointment as information, not instruction. He acknowledges her feelings without being controlled by them. He remains compassionate without becoming compliant. He maintains his position not out of stubbornness, but out of integrity. Yet let's address the common objection. Isn't this manipulative? Am I supposed to disappoint women just to keep them interested? This misses the point entirely. You're not disappointing women as a strategy to maintain attraction. You're disappointing them as a natural consequence of living authentically. The objective is not to disappoint for disappointment's sake. The objective is to live according to your own values and priorities, regardless of whether others approve. Sometimes this will disappoint people. Sometimes it will please them. Yet their reaction is not your responsibility. Your authenticity is. When you're truly centered in your own values, disappointment becomes effortless because it's not a performance. It's simply the natural result of being yourself. You don't have to remember to disappoint women because you're not attempting to please everyone constantly. This authenticity is what generates lasting attraction. Women can sense the difference between a man who's performing independence and a man who actually possesses it. The performer is always slightly off, always trying excessively, always concerned with the effect he's generating. The authentic man simply is what he is regardless of the audience. This brings us to a crucial distinction, the difference between disappointing women and being unnecessarily difficult. Some men swing excessively in the opposite direction, declining everything, being contrarian for its own sake, generating conflict where none exists. This is not strength, it's immaturity disguised as strength. True strength is discriminating. The mature man disappoints when his authentic response conflicts with her preferences, when agreeing would require betraying his values. In the early dating phase, your willingness to disappoint screens out women who need constant validation, demonstrates self-respect, and generates scarcity that fuels attraction. In established relationships, disappointment maintains balance of power and individual identity. In long-term partnerships, it protects against resentment and ensures mutual respect in important decisions. Yet perhaps most importantly, mastering disappointment of women teaches you about your own worth. Each time you select your authentic response over the response that would please someone else, you reinforce your own value. You prove to yourself that you matter, that your preferences are valid, that your judgment is sound. This self-validation is crucial because it breaks the cycle of external validation seeking that keeps most men trapped in approval-seeking behaviors. When you know your own worth, you don't need others to confirm it. When you trust your own judgment, you don't need others to approve of your decisions. This internal confidence becomes magnetic. Women are attracted to men who know their own value because such men don't need constant reassurance, don't require external validation, don't seek approval through compliance. The confident man makes decisions from strength rather than fear, from abundance rather than scarcity, from self-respect rather than other respect. These decision-making patterns generate a completely different quality of life and attract completely different quality of relationships. Consider how disappointment affects pursuit dynamics. When you never disappoint her, you generate imbalanced pursuit where you're always chasing and she's always being pursued. This kills attraction by removing mystery and challenge. Yet, when you occasionally select your priorities over her preferences, you generate space for her to pursue you. You remind her that your attention is valuable, your time is limited, your compliance is not guaranteed. The practical application of this principle requires careful calibration. You must learn to read,